the creativity and entrepreneurialism in the room when we have all of our dealers together in the same room is just so inspiring. You need to have digitalization. You need to be forward thinking.
Yeah.
You need to be innovating that space constantly because people are always looking for dynamic and fresh experiences. Their clothing is an asset and not a throwaway commodity. You know, it's something that should be treasured, should be loved, and should be respected.
Hey Henry, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks, lady. How are you?
I'm good, excited to chat today. So to start the conversation, please just tell everyone more about Known Source and what you guys are building.
So yeah, hi, I'm Henry. I'm one of the co-founders of Known Source. Known Source is a new type of secondhand fashion marketplace. We make it easy to discover high quality secondhand fashion and then seamlessly continue its life. A little bit of a backstory into how I got here. So I used to sell secondhand fashion as a business.
Yeah.
I started a small independent secondhand fashion shop called HMS Vintage
Nice.
at the beginning of university. That was built out of the simple concept of one person's trash is another person's treasure. So I'd go to car boot sales, charity shops, and then sell on my purchases on the likes of Depop and ASOS Marketplace for a profit. But over the years of selling on those platforms, I became really frustrated with what I meant to be a seller on them, how little they supported independent businesses, their lack of circularity and sustainability views, and how oversaturated they were. So I really wanted to create a platform that was curated and was circular and made it easy to discover high quality fashion. And I'm proud to say that's exactly what Known Source is.
Nice.
So through curation and circularity, we really simplified the buying and the selling processes. So we've brought together the best independent secondhand fashion sellers, who we call our dealers, who are the most amazing collective of entrepreneurs, stylists, influencers, and they each specialize in their own different type of secondhand fashion. So every user can come on and find a dealer who represents them in terms of style and individuality.
Nice. So you said influencers and stylists. So are they sellers as well in their own right, as well as being the influencers?
Yeah, crucially, yeah.
Okay,
so
cool.
they're entrepreneurs. So they each sell secondhand fashion, but then on top of that, they're each so creative and amazing entrepreneurs. And some of them have gone into being influencers. Some of them have gone into being stylists. They've each found their own way into becoming a Known Source dealer.
I love that.
So that's the first half of Known Source, curation, cut the crap, make it easy to discover high quality fashion.
Nice.
And the second part is circularity. So through our Renew feature, we guarantee to sell on any purchase at any point in the future. So let's say you bought that top from one of our dealers on Known Source a couple of years back. You've loved it, you've treasured it, but your style has slightly changed, so you want to swap it out for some money. Through our Renew feature, all you need to do is get the item to us, and then we do the hard work and find that item a new buyer. And when that shirt resells, you can get your money and you can renew your style. So our Renew feature is all about closing the loop on our model. It's about making us truly circular, brings customers back, and ensures that all the beautiful items that our Known Source dealers source stay out of the waste cycle.
And did you launch with that feature? Was it always part of the business model? Or did you bring that in later?
No, that's always been a part of our business model.
Okay.
It kind of stemmed out of when I was a seller myself, I used to have a lot of fear that the beautiful items I sourced would end up in waste cycles. And so it kind of stemmed out of that passion of wanting to see these amazing items stay in circulation and be worn over and over and over again.
Yeah, nice. And you have a co-founder, right?
Yeah, so I have a co-founder, Theo. So I come at Known Source from a selling perspective. Theo comes at Known Source from a buying perspective. He's been a buyer of streetwear and secondhand fashion for his whole life. And he was frustrated by coming home from work and having to scroll through Depop for hours to find that one high quality piece. So what's nice about Known Source is it's the first platform which has really been made by the community that we're targeting and we're speaking to. And so that's why our kind of ethos is made by the community for the community.
Nice. And how did you guys meet?
So we met at university. We used to play on the same football team together, and it was actually
nice bonding exercise.
Yeah, exactly, crucial. It was actually after one football game that we went to the pub and we chatted for like good 4 hours and realized how needed Known Source was for the industry.
Love that. And so you were like friends first, would you say? So how is that dynamic? Obviously being co-founders now, business partners.
It's a challenge. I think that anyone who goes into business with a friend will say it's a challenge, but I think the best part about it is because we're friends, at the end of the day, we still support each other. And that's the crucial thing. You know, there's a lot of figuring out that you have to do when your relationship changes from being friends to being co-founders. You have to figure out new ways of communicating with each other.
Yeah.
You know, you need supreme levels of honesty and trust, more so than you need in a friendship. But I think at the end of the day, as long as you have that support and you have that trust of each other, then you'll be able to build a strong relationship.
Yeah, nice. And how are you picking the sellers that you're working with? Like, because do you get inbounds from sellers who are asking to be on the platform, or like, are you going to them? Like, how are you kind of doing that?
Yeah, so it's been a really nice change. So at the beginning, it was very much we were reaching out to sellers, we were reaching out to dealers. I was lucky because I was a seller myself for about 7 years. A lot of the people who initially joined our platform were actually my close friends, who I'd known throughout the years of running HMS Vintage. So yeah, it was very much we were reaching out to them at the beginning, but then since we launched, we've had a lot of sellers reaching out to us, which is amazing. It's really exciting to see that dealers want to be part of our platform. Which really shows how needed it is for like the secondhand fashion sellers. In terms of how we select them, it's quite a rigorous process. So we kind of track them over multiple months to years. We have a huge CRM of all the potential known source dealers, and then we track them for a number of different factors under like the quality of their product and how they display it. I think it's a big problem in the secondhand industry that a lot of the time you're seeing beautiful pieces just shot on the floor or on a bed as opposed to in a professional studio. So that's a really crucial thing for us, how professional is their e-commerce photography. And then we're also looking at their style and their individuality. So how do they present the editorial side of things? We look at their influence as well. So, you know, how much pull do they have in the secondhand industry? The way that Known Source is set up is that there's a strong community and network effect from us bringing all of our dealers on board. So it's really important that they have some standing in the industry.
I was going to say, it must be like a good growth engine to get them to push people there as well.
Exactly. We've got this really nice like two-way symbiotic relationship with them that by them being part of Known Source, they can really grow and scale their businesses. And we get, you know, a demand channel as well from them as well. So it's a really nice, supportive, we each help each other grow. And then the last aspect is ambition. So we really look at how ambitious they are because as I just mentioned, we scale as a company as they scale. We really want to bring on dealers who have like high aims of changing the industry just as we do.
Yeah, nice. And how are you going to kind of keep this creation and quality, I guess, as you scale? Are you preparing for that? Because obviously, like, you want to grow a big business, right?
Yeah.
How are you going to kind of retain that feeling of creation and handpicking sellers, I suppose?
It's a really good point. I think the crucial thing is we only grow as our user base grows. So we only bring on dealers when there's a need to bring them on. We don't want to become another oversaturated platform. Also, but just really, our job at Known Source is to handpick the dealers. We curate the dealers and they curate their clothing. So by having that really rigorous selection process ensures that we're bringing on the right individuals who we can trust to only put high quality products on the platform. Nice. Now, still there is going to reach a point when, we aim by 2027 to have 500 dealers on board. And of course, that means there's going to be a lot of items on the platform. So we'll have to, we're already kind of working through innovative ways of helping each individual user find the right item for themselves, because that's going to be a battle when there's 200,000 items on the platform. So using segmentation through collecting data from consumers, that's going to be a key strategy for us to really help people find the right item for themselves.
Yeah, all the personalization that goes along with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Okay, that makes sense. And just going back to you as well, so where did your love of thrifting really come from in the first place? And you say you went to car boots. I'm a big fan of car boots myself.
They're the best.
But yeah, where did that come from?
It actually came from my dad. So my dad used to take me to car boot sales and charity shop when I was a kid and give me like a couple of quid to see what I could go and find. That started more as like toys and Pokemon cards when I was a little one. But over the years, that kind of developed into a love for finding rare pieces of clothing. So yeah, it was really started by my dad. And then when I was at university, that kind of took a new direction and I started loving hunting through dirty piles of clothing for beautiful one-off pieces.
Nice. And was that spurred on by the fact that Depop was the platform that you could do that on? Or like, was there any of the platforms that you were using, eBay, for example? Or?
Yeah, so I used Depop, I used eBay, I used Facebook, I used Instagram as well. Okay. But yeah, Depop was definitely kind of the catalyst. I joined Depop when it was kind of just starting to get big in the UK. So I kind of really rode that wave as a lot of other sellers did. So that was definitely kind of the beginning of it, was when I set up my Depop shop, but then I did sell on multiple other platforms.
Nice. And what kind of switched in your head to say, I want to build a business that's bigger than just me being a sole trader? Like, what was that kind of shift in your mindset?
So over the years of selling on Depop, a couple of things happened that made me worry that the platform was not there to support independent businesses. And I knew that my sentiments and my feelings were shared by a lot of other sellers in the industry. And I think just over the years of this happening and hearing more and more stories, and it's not only Depop, it's other platforms which haven't been set up to support independent businesses. And that's the crucial thing. They judge their success on quantity, how many items are being sold on the platform, how many users. But that really means that they alienate the sellers who are on their platform. So after a couple of years of this happening, and then speaking to Theo, actually, Theo originally came up with the idea of starting up a marketplace, but he wanted to do it in more like new resale, and I pushed him to do it in secondhand fashion because I knew how much of a need there was. And when we started chatting about it, I was actually studying to be a doctor, so I didn't plan to go into this. And then just after chatting it through with him a couple of times, I was like, I've obviously got to do this.
Yeah.
It was quite a gradual process. There was no pin drop moment. It was just the more I kept looking into it and the more I realized how needed it was by the industry, I realized I didn't really have a choice but to do NoneSource.
That makes sense. Yeah. And how have you created this community of other sellers that you're friends with? Like, because I always hear about it with other sellers. I'd be like, oh yeah, I know that so-and-so and so-so. And like, they're actually like good mates because obviously I've shared experience. But how have you kind of built up this network?
Yeah, it's quite funny. You start by knowing them as like a handle on Depop and Instagram, and you just appreciate what they do. That's the main, there's a lot of shared appreciation. You completely understand the struggles they go through as well because you're going through it. And then occasionally you'll share messages, you'll like send clothing to each other. And quite often for a while, until NoneSource started, you wouldn't meet them in person. You would just have these online relationships with people. And then for me, the big switch up was then when I started NoneSource and I wanted to really get to know them and understand what exactly they needed. And that really marked kind of a shift in our relationships. And now, I mean, I was hanging out with one of them on Saturday. I watched the England game with him. And since we started all meeting each other in person, we started doing events together, those have really turned into like some friendships that I really, really cherish. And I know that they share them between them as well, which is super exciting. It's such a nice like undertone for NoneSource that we're also creating like long-lasting friendships and relationships through it as well.
Yeah, it's really, really powerful. Yeah. I love that, definitely. And in terms of like making the transition over to doing this, you said that you were training to be a doctor.
Yeah.
How did that go down with your family and your friends when you said you were going to be doing this full time?
It's a good point. I think my parents were like, why did you train for 6 years just to...
You did the 6-year training as well?
I did the full course.
I think I saw like Doctor. It's like Dr. Henry, isn't it?
It feels like it doesn't feel right. But I think that everyone's been really supportive because people have been following my journey with HMS Vintage as well. They could see how passionate I was about it and how much I love working with clothing with people. So a lot of people have been really, really supportive of the journey, which is really nice. And I frequently call up my friends when I need something NoneSource related because I know they're always happy to help. And it's the same with my parents. They've been amazing. That's good. My dad's, he came along to our NoneSource opening party, and by the end of the night, he loves chatting to everyone. By the end of the night, he shouted at me from across the room and was like, Henry, come over here and meet this influencer. And I'm like, what is going on? What parallel universe am I in?
Oh, that's really nice. Are they based in London? Are they whereabouts?
Yeah, we're based in London, like Southeast London.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so
nice.
far.
Yeah. And what have been some of the highlights of growing the business so far?
I think our dealer community. I think those relationships, those friendships which we've created, every time we bring everyone together, it really feels like the creativity and entrepreneurialism in the room when we have all of our dealers together in the same room is just so inspiring. So being able to build up like close friendships and relationships with them has been the most rewarding aspect of it. And also seeing them interact with each other as well. You know, they now collaborate on pop-ups. I know they're frequently in contact with each other. So I think being able to create a company that nurtures relationships and friendships and people's shared love for clothing and for people is really, really amazing. So that's been like a massive highlight. I think the second highlight is definitely we won the Westfield Grand Prix last year, which means that we're going to be opening a shop in Westfield Stratford for a whole year later this summer, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And like that feeling of winning that was the biggest one we've had, but yeah, truly special.
Yeah, and what sort of other businesses were you against when you were doing that?
So we're up against 250 other businesses. mostly consumer goods, some more service related. But I mean, what was amazing is at the time of that competition, we'd only been running for a year, and we're up against businesses who'd been running for over 8 years at the time. So I think for us to be in such a strong place that's so early in our journey is really, really exciting. Makes me very excited about the future.
Yeah, definitely. And how do you see the future of the industry playing out in terms of the online and the offline spaces, I suppose, and how they're intersecting?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are craving offline experiences. That's the reality. After COVID, when everyone was online, then there's been a shift to everybody craving those in-person, real, authentic experiences. And so I don't think offline's going anywhere. I mean, you know, can't predict the future. We've all learned that over the last couple of years. But I think offline is going to be a crucial part of every online strategy. You know, you need to have a physical presence, especially as a startup, as a small brand, because you need people to really get to know your values and the people that run your company. So I think every startup needs some sort of physical and online experience. And, you know, you've got to just match them up as closely as possible. You don't want someone coming into your retail space, having one experience, then having a completely different experience online. They need to be really matched up so you can have crossover between the two.
Yeah.
I think that in physical spaces, it's going to be so important that every startup has that kind of omni-channel approach. You need to have digitalization. You need to be forward-thinking. Yeah. You need to be innovating that space constantly because people are always looking for dynamic and fresh experiences. So yeah, figuring out new ways of either through people or through tech, really innovating that kind of omni-channel strategy is going to be crucial for offline experience.
Nice. And can you tell us like how you're doing that in the store that you have coming up?
Yeah, so I think the first part is through the staff. I think the amazing thing about the store in Westfield is that every single item is going to be one of one, which is operationally a bit of a headache because it means that when something sells, you need something else in the back room to replace it. But from a consumer perspective, it's really exciting because they'll see just a portion of the items on the shop floor, and then there's going to be a whole bunch more in the back room, and then obviously 15,000 more online.
Yeah.
So the first part is having really good staff who almost act as personal stylists for people. So they come in and able to make an assessment on what they're wearing and pull out items from the back room, which they really like. And if they can't find an item in the back room, then looking online and making suggestions for them from there. So that's the first step is through people. But on top of that, we're going to have in-store pads and terminals so that people can also browse online and browse the shopping experience. We're at some point down the line, people will be able to see like live arrivals in the back room. So people will be able to see, okay, this item's just arrived in the back room, and you can ask a staff to come and try it.
Oh, that's so cool.
Which is really exciting. These things are all going to come. The beauty of having a year is we've got a long time to kind of test and trial these things.
Yeah, that's nice.
So yeah, we'll be doing different launches throughout the whole year period.
It's kind of like a mini drop system. Like,
Exactly.
So it's coming off, it's in the back room, stick around.
Exactly. And there'll even be like in transit. There'll be an in transit when things have been posted. We're going to have that already linked up to the shop, which is really, really exciting.
I think it brings such a new element of excitement to the whole retail experience when it's one pieces.
Exactly.
It's just such a FOMO effect of the whole thing.
Exactly. And it also means that you can have a completely different experience depending on what day you come in. You can come in on Monday and then come in Sunday that week, and it's completely different clothing on the rails.
Yeah.
And just that ability to constantly bring consumers back in because of, as you said, of that FOMO of missing out on the most beautiful one-of-one piece. It's such an amazingly unique aspect to our shop in Westfield.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what charity shops have been doing for years,
exactly.
Right? I mean, that's why people love charity shops. Exactly. They're literally like, well, what's in there?
It's the thrill of the hunt. That's the best part about it, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And what's the grand vision for Known Source in the future? Like, where do you want to get to?
Yeah, I think we want to get to a lot of places. The first aspect, I think, is in terms of circularity and consumer behaviors. I think every company starting now, circularity and sustainability has to be at your core. We need to be giving more to the world than we're taking back, as simply as that. Otherwise, no difference is going to be made. So I think for us, having circularity as a value entrenched in our business from the get-go will hopefully force the industry to shift into more circular practices.
Yeah.
And I think the exciting thing about our offering is through curation and through circularity, we really want to guide consumers into making more conscious purchase decisions. So showing them that their clothing is an asset and not a throwaway commodity. It's something that should be treasured, should be loved, and should be respected. And that comes from, ensuring that every item's high quality and ensuring that they can then sell that item on easily when they're done wearing it. So for us, that is a big goal, changing consumer behaviors. Getting people to really appreciate their purchases and their items and treat them with the love and respect that they deserve. And that's kind of a long-term vision. And that's going to be something which is going to take time. It's going to take time. You're constantly battling against a huge marketing spend of fast fashion companies who are pushing out trend after trend after trend. And so it takes a while to be able to educate consumers. And I think, again, it's the exciting thing about a store like Westfield is it gives us an opportunity to show them the quality of what we're doing, give them easy purchase processes, and then kind of hold their hands through that educational process.
Yeah, I was going to say, how are you planning to educate them in the store? Will you have posters up or information about how much carbon they're saving, water they're saving by shopping pre-loved? Or what's that sort of journey?
It's through the staff. Again, because every single time someone makes a purchase, they need to be educated on the fact that they can resell their clothing at any point of time. And we found in the past that educational posters, they don't have anywhere near as much impact as somebody telling you.
True.
So we've created a known source guest experience, which is what each staff member will need to communicate to the shopper at every single point in their journey. So that's the first step, ensuring that when they come into the store, they really understand that circularity aspect. And then it's post-purchase comms. It's sending them emails and texts at the right time just to re-educate them about how to look after their piece of clothing they've purchased, or the fact that they'll be able to sell it on at any point in the future. So it's kind of in-store and then post-purchase and trying to get them back in.
Yeah, and how are you kind of trying to convert? Are you going to try and convert people that buying stuff in the store to then buy online as well from you guys? Or how are you navigating that kind of journey as well?
Yeah, definitely. That's going to be a work in progress for sure. I mean, it comes through personalization and segmentation. Because of the diversity of clothing we have on our platform, we have to be able to collect data from them and then show them products which they'll like. And that's something which doesn't really exist in the secondhand industry, which is quite crazy in my eyes. It's really difficult to find high quality secondhand fashion in your style unless you know where to go. So for us, it's about collecting data, segmenting them into top of funnel acquisition channels, and then kind of holding their hand throughout that purchase process to help them find quality products that they like. But that's going to be a work in progress. We're going to be launching a beta version of a personalization quiz a couple of months into Known Source, so into the store opening. And then, we'll be iterating that process throughout the whole year.
People love a quiz nowadays,
don't they? They do. Yeah.
And then I guess you kind of touched on it already, but what would your kind of wish be for the industry and how you'd like it to change in the future?
Yeah, and it's actually interesting when you're talking about your other long-term vision for Known Source. I think the other aspect is our dealers and helping them grow and helping them scale and helping to kind of create these really impactful small independent businesses who have circularity, who have sustainability at their hearts. And that's a big long-term vision for us, to create this community and network of individuals. And they're already really shaping the fashion industry. Some of them have got collaborations with the likes of Stussy, one of them sells in Selfridges, one of them sold in Harrods. So they're already starting to have this influence on the fashion industry. And I think that's a long-term vision of us, by kind of diversifying where the power sits within the industry and giving it more to these independent sellers who really have curation and circularity at their heart. Then in our eyes, it will really help push the industry to be more circular and to be more sustainable and listen to these individuals who are really in touch with their user base and their consumer base. So that's another long-term vision of us, really support our independent dealers as well.
Give them more power in the space. I think one of the most frustrating things I found is you go into some of these high street stores now and they look like vintage clothes. They've copied the styles of what the sellers are selling.
I know.
And you're like, oh my God, it's really hard because it looks really good. It looks like vintage clothes,
But it's lacking the quality.
Lacking the quality,
That's the crucial thing. And again, it's an educational piece that needs to happen on yes, you might be able to try and get the vintage style, but actually the reason why a lot of people shop secondhand is because of the quality of production back then was extremely high. A lot of the production processes aren't being used anymore because they're simply too expensive right now. So I only shop secondhand, and there's a reason behind it, and it's because the quality is amazing. Like I'm sure if anyone's seen photos of me, I think my like business profile photo is in this jumper.
Yeah.
And I've been wearing this for like 5-6 years and it looks almost new. And
yeah.
That's something which consumers have to be educated on, and they have to be told that yes, you might be able to emulate this style, but you won't get the same quality and longevity that you get from buying it secondhand.
Yeah, and I think there's a bit of an educational piece around like wanting people to own things for longer and not wanting to buy something else. Because someone could buy that top and say, oh, I'm only going to wear it a few times.
Exactly.
And so I don't really care if I'm only buying it and it falls apart because I'm only going to wear it a few times. So like, how do we get people to think like, oh, I actually do want to own it for a long time?
Yeah.
You know?
It's tricky. I think there's stigma with wearing something multiple times.
Yeah.
There's because trends are so fast moving now, it means that people think that they have to constantly be changing their style and updating it. But I personally don't believe in that. I love wearing something over and over again.
Yeah.
And again, it's about almost fighting those trends and showing people that there are other trends focused on quality and slow fashion, which are more impactful than these constantly fast-paced moving consumer trends.
Yeah. Like, what do you think about the whole micro trend thing? Like, are you trying to discourage sellers from like jumping on trends and promoting it, or like do you want to? Because I guess like the best thing really is to have your own unique sense of style and to own that, I suppose, and buy clothes that are hopefully pre-loved that fit within that style of yours. But yeah, how do you think about the whole micro trend sort of aspect?
I think anything which is I think the micro aspect is dangerous because it means that people are constantly going to be needing to update what they're buying, which isn't good. But I think trends in general, there's good and there's bad trends. For example, techwear. So techwear and gorpcore, which boomed in COVID. It's like about the love of outdoor clothing. And what I love about the techwear trend is it makes you appreciate the quality of the piece of clothing over just the aesthetic. You know, how waterproof it is, how breathable is it, how functional and sturdy are the zips, how is the material going to rip? And those kind of trends which make you appreciate the intrinsic qualities of a clothing over solely the aesthetic kind of slowly but surely educate you on conscious consumption, because
that's interesting.
Once you start using that appraisal technique for all of your purchases, then it's a bit of a slippery slope. Suddenly, like I now spend hours researching every single purchase I make. And I think a lot of that started from me falling in love with material innovation in techwear. And now I won't buy anything until I've done a couple of hours research to make sure it's going to last a long time.
That's really good.
I think when it comes to trends, not all trends are bad. Some are really positive. Another one is like crocheting, you know, things which actually take a lot of time to make and which can't be easily imitated by fast fashion companies because they're based on quality and handmade processes. Those trends we actively support, and we'll shout about them and we'll talk about them because we think people should jump on them because they're positive.
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely seen the trend of people wearing, you know, Patagonia and like all those sort of brands in Hackney. They're like they're about to go on a trek.
Yeah,
but like, definitely not.
But I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Yeah,
it's high quality, so it's all good.
Yeah, exactly.
Final question is, what would your one piece of advice be to other founders starting up their businesses today?
Yeah, I think I first would do it. I think that's a pretty simple one, but you know, the journey of development and self-discovery that you go on when you start something which is as difficult as running a business, because it is really difficult, it's really challenging, makes it such a rewarding experience. Whilst there's obviously a lot of challenges. But I think the really crucial thing is actually what I said earlier is you need to really look after yourself.
Yeah.
You need to ensure that you're staying healthy, both physically and mentally, because it's a war. It's not a short-term battle. You're going to be doing this for a long time if it goes the right way. And the only way that you can make it successful is if you ensure that you're happy, you know, you have a life outside of work and that you're staying motivated and you're staying focused.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest battle. That's hands down the biggest battle is with yourself. The workload is always there. It's never going to go away. But all you need to be able to do is really ensure that you're happy and that you're focused and motivated to try and stay on top of it.
Yeah,
so
I love that.
Look after yourself.
Yeah, it's so important.
Yeah,
a lot of people
really
just don't
is.
think about it enough.
No.
And they don't consider it being important to the business side.
Yeah.
But it's just all so interconnected.
Yeah.
And I found it like, if my exercise drops off 1 week,
exactly,
it will impact my work and my productivity.
Sure.
And you just don't think about it because you're like, I'm just trying to get as much work done in the week as possible,
No, you have to prioritize yourself.
Yeah.
You have to prioritize yourself.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Henry.
No,
it's so
my
good
pleasure.
chatting to you.
No, thanks for having me.
And yeah, thanks.
Thank you.